Hello, everybody. This is Simeon here. Once again, this is a pre-recorded live stream because I am busy this Saturday afternoon. But just as promised, I'm going to talk to you guys today about the topic of planned grazing and planning the whole growing season on your homestead or farm or ranch. This applies to you if you have a few goats or sheep, if you have just a dairy cow, family cow, or if you have 1,000 cattle, anything in between there. We're going to approach the subject with the background of holistic planned grazing as taught by the Savory Institute. And I am a Savory accredited educator, and I am going to share from my own personal experience with you, but also from the textbooks and ebooks from the material from the Savory Institute. So today, I do not have my countdown that I typically have on all my live streams, where I show a little bit of what the Sound Farmer is all about, because we have experienced some unexpected challenges, and that is the following. I have to say this real quick before I go into the live stream more. The main app that we have been using to connect with you guys as clients and to do one-on-one coaching and consulting, Volley, was a very promising startup app that was promoted by some people that I have learned a lot from, and I really loved the concept because it allowed us to connect with each other based on our schedules and time zones. We didn't have to work out a meeting that would fit us both, but we could just do it. But unfortunately, we just received a message from the Volley team a few days ago that the startup didn't work out the way they had hoped. The market didn't respond in the same way, so Volley is shutting down. I have figured out, or I am figuring out, how to deal with my current clients with that, and I'm really bummed about it because Volley just worked really well for us. But we have to rearrange how we offer our services now at the Sound Farmer, and our website will be updated very soon. And that's also why you don't see the timer with where it showcases the offers and services that we have, because a lot of them were based on Volley. Anyway, let's dive into this topic of holistic planned grazing. And I just want to start with an overview real quick for you guys who don't know if this live stream is for you, real quick what this is about. Most people hear about holistic management when they hear about, how land has been healed with cattle, and how land can become more productive, how you can actually improve your land and your economy on the farm by doing this grazing planning. But most people do not really understand what that is. Many people actually think that holistic management is this whole cattle thing or livestock thing. Holistic planned grazing is one planning process within the holistic management framework. But holistic management goes way beyond that. Managing holistically is where you manage complexity, your life, your finances, and the environment at the same time. And holistic management provides the tools and the framework to you for that. And if you have livestock, then holistic planned grazing applies to you, or if you have pasture land. I have personally been working on different planning processes similar to holistic planned grazing for gardening and for just poultry and stuff, because that is also needed on a lot of homesteads and stuff. But it's very important to understand that holistic planned grazing is about so much more than just moving livestock around or cattle around. And it's more than rotational grazing. In fact, it differs greatly from strip grazing or rotational grazing, even though those elements can be part of holistic planned grazing. But it's just very important for us to understand. So I said in the beginning that this is important. This live stream can be of help and value to you, whether you have just a couple goats or even a few chickens. I would stay tuned if you move those around, or if you have just a few cattle, or if you have 1,000 cattle on a ranch. It doesn't matter. These principles apply to all of you, and they are in fact very, very important. So it's called holistic planned grazing because we don't just plan the grazing. We don't just plan livestock moves, and we don't just focus on the health of the land. We need to keep the main thing, and the main thing is your life as the manager and decision makers, your personal health, and the priorities in your family as the farmers or homesteaders. That is the most important thing. It's important that the cattle don't own you, but that you own the cattle, that the grazing operation doesn't manage you, but that you manage the grazing operation. And the grazing operation, or the pastures, the animals that you have on your farm or homestead, they are just one small part of your life. Maybe they are a big part of your life, but they're just one part. There are so many things in your life that go way past the livestock or the chickens or the pasture or the grass or even your land's health, right? You have your personal finances, you have your personal relationships, you have possibly your marriage, and maybe you're a parent. You have all your other friendships. You have all the things you're involved in. Maybe you are involved in nonprofit work. You have just a lot of things in your life, and in holistic plant grazing, all those things are considered. In fact, in the pre-planning, some of the most important questions that you would ask yourself are, what will we have to work with and work around this season? Are there any important family events, or do we want to go on a vacation? Will we be short-staffed? Is there maybe a scheduled surgery, for example? Or whatever it is, you think of these things and plan them in, because they will have major impact on your day-to-day life, and thus on your quality of life, on everything that is going on. So what I want to do today, obviously in a live stream like this, we can only dive into this topic in a very limited way, but I would like to give you guys a little bit of an update, or not an update, an overview of what holistic plant grazing is all about. And I want to touch on what we focus on in holistic management in general. I want to touch on the cultural and our relational, social life aspect of things, the economical aspect of things, and also the land's health and the livestock's health. Okay, just touch on those subjects to give you a good idea. So I want to say again that, and start this with saying, the most important thing is that as homesteaders, as farmers, as ranchers, whoever we are, whatever we do, that we can enjoy what we do, that it can sustain the life that we want to live, and that it does not become a burden and cause depression, cause anxiety, cause constant permanent stress, and cause harm to our well-being physically, mentally, and spiritually. It is very important that all those aspects don't do that. Yet, sadly, that's the case for a lot of people, for a lot of farmers. Farmer is the group that has the highest suicide rate, a lot of depression going on, a lot of fear, and it's not limited to just industrial farmers who are in a bad situation that they can't get out of. This is, I have myself reached burnout while doing regenerative farming. There are a lot of people out there who take on way too much and get overwhelmed, and all different kinds of aspects of life play a role in this. Okay, so we want to do holistic planned grazing so that we can consider as much as possible, as many aspects as possible, be aware of them. Working with this planning process and the holistic management framework in it really helps us, gives us tools and support to try not to miss too much. And even if we do, then it's minimal because we have had a solid planning process where we think of all these things. Okay, so the main thing is that we keep the main thing, which is your health and well-being and your personal quality of life. This is something that in holistic management we start with and that we define in the beginning. What is the life that we want to live? What do we want our life to be like? And so when you do a holistic grazing plan, then it's not first and foremost about daily cattle moves. Okay, there are some managing guidelines here, yes, to prevent overgrazing and all of that. But the main thing is that you plan something that will work around your year, your season, and your life. Okay, so for example, I have a client here in Austria currently that just purchased a farm, and he wants help, or they want help with creating a holistic grazing plan. And a substantial part of that plan will be considering the fact that they just moved into a new place, new culture, new country, different nationality. They everything is new, lots to learn, and so if they would plan daily livestock moves, it would just completely overwhelm them, completely put a burden upon them, and make it a really stressful season. So in the pre-planning process, we are going to talk together just about, what makes sense here this year. You will have to do, the client will have to do, a lot of traveling to city halls and do a lot of figuring out. There will be some construction on the farm, and that has, the dates are not set yet, so there needs to be flexibility on that and everything. And so all those things will be considered when we plan the grazing based on the infrastructure and the given situation on the farm. And we do this so that we can avoid just too much workload and investing too much time and too much money into an area that is not as important in this season of their life. And that is extremely important. A move, for example, or a purchase of a farm is very stressful. You need to give yourself the time to get to know the climate, the land, get all the connections from where do you buy things, how do things work, learn all of these things. And on top of all of that, the most important thing is still you, your family, your wife, your husband, your children. That is still the most important thing that should not suffer. After a move like that, there'll be a lot of pressure on everybody, and you need to have enough time to deal with all of that. So in this holistic planned grazing, we do have to plan the livestock and the pasture management, but first and foremost we plan our lives. So that's going to be the focus on. And in a stressful year like that, maybe they want to get away for a weekend. Maybe they, need to go back to where they moved from to deal with some other things there. All those things need to be considered, and there needs to be left some room, some buffer, some time when they plan all of this. So, for example, daily livestock moves will most likely not be relevant this season in their holistic grazing plan. Maybe it'll be every 3 days, or maybe in some stretches throughout the season, they will possibly even have to tolerate overgrazing to a certain extent. and maybe only move the cows once a week, for example. Okay, totally will depend on when we have put in all the dates on the grazing plan and checked that all out. So that is very, very important to start with. And that's what I want to encourage you with. Whether you just have a few dairy goats or dairy cows or a ranch, this principle applies to you. That's where we start in holistic plant grazing. We have to take this holistic look. And the most important part there is, are there major events throughout the year that you already know of? Maybe where some staff is on leave, maybe, where you have other important things going on. So when I plan something for a farmer or also for myself, then I even put in things like my family's birthdays. I put in something like Thanksgiving, and Christmas is usually fine because that's not the growing season where we live. If you live in the southern hemisphere, that might be different. But I put in those kind of things because when you plan, for example, even the sale of vegetables, and you have weekly deliveries, or you do weekly deliveries with your farm products, for example, then depending on what days of the week the birthdays come, or Easter possibly, or even 4th of July if you're in the States, you just want to make sure that you plan all these things in, because let's say you do pasture poultry as well as vegetables as well as your livestock, okay, then you have done some planning already for your vegetables, you have done some planning for your pasture poultry, you have set the butcher dates, and the delivery dates are closely connected to that. Then you want to mark those on your holistic grazing plan, because if you have them marked on the days on your grazing plan, well, then on those days you need to have easy management with the cows. You don't want to have to do a long cattle drive, for example, on that day. You don't want to have that day be planned in as something where you would, put all the earmarks in or do something else. You just put those things in and plan that all. Okay, so that's kind of the general idea behind the whole holistic plant grazing from your personal life and relationship perspective. Then we come to the financial perspective. And again, if you are a rancher or farmer that makes a substantial part of your income comes from cattle or livestock, then it's obviously extremely important that you make a profit off of this. But even if you just have a few dairy goats or a dairy family cow or something, the financial aspect is still extremely important, because you don't want to have to pump tons of money into your operation, into your your whole grazing system, because then it just becomes unsustainable. It'll eat you up, it'll cost you more money. So to have an understanding of the finances and to do an economic planning is really important there as well. And I think the products that you get, whether you have a few family cows for meat or sheep or goats or for milk, you need to calculate the value of the products that you're providing for your family. I think that's a healthy way to go about it, so that you can kind of see the work, the costs you put in there, and where would you buy it otherwise. Okay, often you can't get the same kind of quality anywhere, but if you would be able to just calculate a price on it and see, and then you could maybe even see if a family cow or goats or sheep, what might be better for you, what works better for your system. But a holistic grazing plan can ensure that with the given circumstances and infrastructure and given current state of your land's health, that you can still have a successful and financially sustainable grazing operation that given season. Okay, many people always think that they need to create these incredible land plans, completely detailed out, and install all these water points and plant these hedgerows and all this amazing fence and stuff. In reality, that is your goal that you want to reach, and you will get there year after year, a little bit further, closer to it. But in reality, this season, this year, you have to work with how your land is now, how your infrastructure looks now, your time, everything that you have available, the resources that are available to you this year. That's what you'll have to plan around. And the holistic grazing planning is a process that ensures that comes alongside you and helps you to plan a profitable and sustainable grazing operation with what you have. Okay, that's just really important to understand. In the holistic management framework, the holistic land planning, the holistic financial planning, and the holistic planned grazing, these three planning processes work closely together. The holistic land plan is created once, and that's your goal. The holistic financial plan gives you the budget for the current year of what you will invest in which step you will invest in, how much you will be able to spend on reaching that holistic land plan goal. And the holistic grazing plan, and I would even extend this if you don't have livestock, but vegetables and other things, your holistic farm plan, growing plan, that will ensure that with whatever budget you have and whatever is available to you, the current infrastructure, all that you can still make a profit off of that. And so those planning procedures work closely together. Now, many people focus so much on the land health and livestock health, and rightfully so, because we obviously want to have healthy livestock and we want to have a healthy land, and those things are directly closely connected to your finances and to your life. If you have sick livestock, that'll impact your finances and your quality of life. If you have bad land, it is not going to be in alignment with the kind of future resource base, your land that you want to live on, that you want to have around you. If those things are not working out, chances are that everything else will fail as well, because we manage holistically, all those things are connected. Okay, that's what that means. So I want to spend the rest of the time right now to talk about some management guidelines and understanding of the actual livestock moves that we want to plan. And again, this can be of some value even if you just have a few goats or sheep or a couple cows. But they are especially important if you have a little bit of a bigger herd and do movements. Okay, first of all, let me just start by saying this. Movements of animals are absolutely crucial and essential. Why? Because contrary to plants that have roots and they stick to where they are, animals in nature are mobile. They have legs, they have wings, they move. And that is part of their health and the land's health. This is all a symbiotic relationship, and it's absolutely crucial. So when man comes in and makes animals stationary, and whether it's on a pasture where they are on the same spot for a very long time and they're stationary on a big pasture, or inside a stable, we have lots of unintended consequences that still many farmers and homesteaders have not figured out entirely. Personally, I think animals don't belong in stables. Animals do not need our living room sympathy, okay? They function differently. They have different hair coats. They are different. We cannot compare ourselves to them. It's a huge mistake. We look outside and it's cold and we are at our cozy fireplace, and cattle can handle cold way better than heat, for example. Okay, we just need to put that aside. So planning movement is absolutely crucial to the land's health and to the animal's health. Okay, and there are different ways of doing that depending on your holistic context, on what uh, you know what your life looks like, what your finances look like, and whatever it is you manage. How many animals, what kind of animals, what does the land look like? So let me talk real quick about the animal aspect on that, and then the lands aspect. Movements are important for animals because they don't use restrooms is one thing. Okay, they need to move away from where they drop their manure and urine just a short time before. They need to move away from that to stay healthy. There are parasites that grow in this, and those parasites and illnesses that come along with that, they often are limited to a certain amount of time. So when we plan our movements and plan the time till the animals return to that given place, we can look at the life cycle of, for example, the parasites, and we can eliminate a lot of issues like worms and all that in our animals. Okay, same can be with chickens. It's not limited to cows or sheep. Okay, but it's just very important to understand that is one aspect. And if you mix the moves and with different species, you have chickens follow the cows, and then maybe before the cows return, in between you have some sheep come there or something, you can just really improve your livestock's health. And part of the holistic management framework are the context checks. So for example, if you have an issue and you try to find the root cause, and let's say you have a heavy parasite or worm pressure on your pasture, well, then you can look at what is causing this, what is the issue, and you can plan your moves and recovery time for your livestock's health, so that when they return, that you have broken the life cycle of those parasites, for example. On the land's side of things, it is very important that the animals move, because everything in nature, including our physical body, works with partial stress and stimulation, and then a recovery period. Right? We go and work out, but then we need to give our body time to recover. This is true on a larger scale, but also on a daily basis, where we do work during the day, then we need to sleep at night. But also, we could have a very busy week, and then we take an entire day of rest or something like that. But this is true for all nature, that everything and everyone can, handle some stress and pressure, and then come back stronger if given the appropriate recovery and rest time. So when we have animals, okay, and this is, I would generally say that in nature, this is being handled in two ways. Either we have very concentrated flocks or herds of animals, whether it's birds or livestock or something, or wild game, and they are very concentrated, very intensive, but they are at a place for a short time, and then they move on, and there's a long recovery period after. That's one way. The other way is where you have Animals that do have a fixed area, like for example a fox or even rabbits, or some might even be some wild chicken relatives. But then there's just so few of them that they also for weeks do not touch the same place twice, and there is no harm because it's such an extensive system. Okay, and that's, for example, my big criticism of people free ranging their chickens, because they keep them in an intensive way but they don't move them often. Okay, and that's why with chickens, for example, we need to confine them and move them in order to not cause harm to them or the land, the environment. If you just free range your chicken from where you are, chances are very greatly that they, because they are so many, they walk a lot where their parasites are, where their manure is, and they eat all beneficial insects and amphibia even around where they are. The land can never recover if it favors certain weeds and so on. So this goes beyond just cattle or sheep. This really this understanding is important for all of this. So both for the land's health and for the animal's health, mobility is important. And I've just tried to explain a little bit why, but if we just look to nature and observe it, we can see that they are mobile. And that should be enough for us to be like, I should keep it that way, because if I change that, it has consequences and unexpected outcomes that I can't even begin to fully understand, because nature is so complex. If I mess with one thing there, so many other things will be affected. Okay, that's why I think it's so important that we try to mimic nature as closely as possible. So we plan these moves. When we plan these moves, we obviously have the livestock's performance or the animal's performance to consider, and the land's health. And often we have to find a compromise right there, So I'm just talking about those two aspects. Obviously, when we plan the moves, we, like I said in the beginning, spend a lot of time on this. We also have to consider our time and quality of life and everything. But if we just focus on animal performance and the land's health right now, we have talked about the other topics already, then it's important to understand that we need to monitor our land. We need to understand where does land maybe need more recovery time or even possibly rest. Where does it need less rest? Where does it need more stimulation and animal impact, right? We need to have an understanding of the basic ecosystem processes and where our land is at. And then we need to look at our livestock or our animals as a way to how we can really improve the land and impact the land. They are helpers. They are a resource. They are a tool. Okay, that's very important to understand. So we can use the animal impact, which is everything beside grazing. It's their trampling, their stimulation through the hoofs. It's the saliva. It's the urine. It's the manure. It's all those things are considered animal impact. From chickens, it's scratching. From pigs, it's digging. How can we use this? How can we use this to manage the land? And you consider that even in your grazing. So to put holistic plant grazing in one sentence, we say we want the right animals at the right place at the right time with the right behavior for the right reasons. Okay? The right animals at the right place at the right time with the right behavior for the right reasons. And those reasons, they go beyond just land's health or animals' health. They go all the way to when you want your day off and everything else. So now I just want to give you some practical advice to how possibly do this with different animal types and depending on how many you have. So if you have a large herd of cows, you have a herd dynamic, and you can take advantage of that when you do your moves, and you can control your animals with electric fencing. If you are on a homestead base, for example, a chicken tractor, I made a whole live stream, a whole podcast about that. A chicken tractor is a holistic system where you figure out a way that works for you, your life, for the chicken, and for the land. You do the daily moves. It's healthy for the chicken, it's healthy for the land, and it gives you joy, gives you a product that's healthy, gives your client a product that's healthy. You compromise in all areas a little bit, but in the big picture, in the holistic picture, it's a very good system. And there you have it considered that the chickens move away from their manure. The land gets a recovery time afterwards. You only have to spend a couple minutes after. You do not have to spend lots of time emptying the stable from manure, right? So I've even seen people do this with sheep. There are examples of sheep tractors, so to speak, like a little enclosure that you can put sheep in, that you can move them with. I think this would even be possible with cattle. If you just have one or two family cows, put some shade over there, put a little feeder in there with a little bit of extra hay, and then you can just move this. But you'll probably need a little more than by hand. You might need to have a little bit of a machine. Otherwise, family cows, tie her to a tree, tie her to a pole, move her around, make her hand tame. There are lots of ways of doing this. But look, moving your animals once every week is a lot better than not at all or once every month. Moving them every 3 days is better than that. But see what fits you, see how you can do this, and work around things. It's just very important. And again, don't forget that the time you spend, the money you spend, all of that needs to support the kind of life that you want to live. Don't put a burden on you just because you have this idea of moving your cows daily or twice a day. If that doesn't work this season, or doesn't fit into your life this year, so to speak, currently. You need to be aware of what happens. You need to be aware of the pros and cons of all of that, but don't focus on just one area here. You need to have the whole. That's why it's called holistic plant grazing. You need to have that in mind. So in many regions, you might have planned this out already, but maybe you're still in the process of doing holistic plant grazing, or you want to create a holistic grazing plan, or maybe you want to even create a holistic farm plan. This is something where I personally have taken the material from the Savory Institute and the principles from the holistic financial plan, the holistic grazing plan, and I'm currently even working on that still. I'm adapting all of that to more than just a holistic grazing plan. I'm trying to adapt this to a homestead or farm level where we have so many more enterprises that are also pasture based, where you maybe have turkeys, geese, broilers, layers, ducks, and also where you have, for example, market garden, and you have weekly vegetable sales and harvest times. I have created a plan where I try to combine all of those things, okay, where the biological years, the livestock production, the grazing plan, and the garden plan and all that, where those are combined into one big holistic farm plan. So maybe you think you could benefit from that. Maybe you think that you really can benefit from a holistic grazing plan. If you think that, if that is something where you feel like it would be great to have that clarity, that plan there for me, then reach out to me, please. Okay, reach out to me. Let me see if I have. I do not have my email here typed up right now, but go to our website, thesoundfarmer.net, and there's a contact form there. Reach out to me and ask me about how we could come alongside you and help you with this. We have the official Savory materials, the ebooks, but we also assist people in this planning process. We do not work with volley anymore. Like I said in the beginning of this live stream, unfortunately, we just found out a few days ago that volley is it didn't work out for the business as hoped. People didn't accept it. It was a great tool for us. We are trying to figure out right now how we will do this in different ways. But one way we have worked with already and are going to continue is with video meetings with our clients. Zoom is what we use. So if you want help with this, your farm plan, your holistic grazing plan, or a holistic farm plan, please reach out and we can figure something out there. I'm sure we can help you. And this season can be a very good and beneficial season for you. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Again, this was a pre-recorded live stream because I'm busy this afternoon. And I want to wish you all the best. And I will see you very soon in the next video. Thank you for watching, guys. Bye-bye.